6 o'clock and 13 seconds.
Ooh.
First item on the agenda is public comments. Hearing none, next item is approval of the March 24th, 2025 minutes, which should be in your packet. Everyone want to take a minute to review, or somebody can make a motion?
I've looked at it and I'm prepared to make a motion that it be accepted.
Okay.
I'll second it.
All right, any discussion or changes?
No, you do great minutes. Okay. You really do. I did the minutes. We took all the minutes in for all the boards and commissions.
You know.
I
All right, hearing no discussion, I'll call the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Motion passes. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the association liaison report.
I'm all set for now, thank
Okay. Chairman's report. We're going to cover stuff later. Review of current financials.
you. So the line that we're gonna look at is, one of them is gonna be repair maintenance machine. So, we had quite a few repairs this last month. We had, the 2011 Suburban, the assistant chief's vehicle, the rear end, we had to rebuild. So with that and belts and, front wheel bearing, rotors, just to get the car back up in service was $5,000 in budget for it. And the car also needs tires, and tires are gonna probably run us another $2,000. We have money for tires, we'll just pull it out of our tire line item. The other thing is, engine 2, we needed to replace the brake, the air brakes, canisters on the truck. And we had 4 canisters, they're roughly $1,000 a piece. It was a little over $4,000 in material and another $3,500 in labor to do it, because they had to pull the old ones down, take the batteries off to get to the straps, sandblast that all apart, put new straps in, re-secure everything, all new fittings in the line. So when we got all said and done, that bill was around $7,500. So, and we had a couple other repair items. So our budget's slowly or quickly.
So what's the pricing like for this type of repair work? Is there special pricing because these are first
So we go
response
to
vehicles?
EVT, yeah,
or-
so we have go to a facility that's EVT certified, emergency vehicle technician. They're certified to work on emergency apparatus.
So that doesn't really speak to the pricing though, that just says we're certified. Is it
Right, so-
considered a discounted rate or
No,
there's no
because,
such
not
thing?
really, because like for instance, the truck that we're talking about that we replaced the air cans on, it was an E1, emergency 1 apparatus. E1 is the name of the manufacturer. We had to buy the air brake tags from E1. So they have to ship them up to there, and then
And then the provider has to be certified, so there's probably special training
absolutely
involved to be able to work on our vehicles, so we pay for it.
we do.
But
It's not a lot more than a regular diesel mechanic. It's just, once again, it's just cost of material is over $4,000 just the material alone, and then the labor.
So that's
they
for an
go up.
engine, but what about like the assistant chief's vehicle? Is that treated as a regular repair?
It's just treated as a regular repair. Yep.
So you go somewhere different for that?
We do.
Okay.
Yep,
And do you have to get quotes, competitive pricing for that, like you do for capital
we
purchase?
don't, because we didn't know what was wrong with the assistant chief's vehicle, and you have to take it apart. Well, by the time you take it apart, it doesn't make sense to do that. When we talk about like a $7,500 repair to an engine, we wouldn't go out. It's not, it sounds like a lot of money. It's really not, because by the time you have to take the thing apart to figure out what you need and
What's-
then
what
to
is
try to
the-
put it back, it's not worth it. It probably costs you half of that just to try to take the thing apart, figure out what
Diagnose
you
it.
need, and then put it back together again.
Okay, so I'm just asking on the town level, is there some threshold where you have to get competitive pricing?
Usually anything over $10,000 we try to, but once again,
If you know it's gonna be 10,000
they're
before you
specialized,
do
they're
it.
specialized vehicles and only a few people can actually work on them.
Right.
So
Okay.
sometimes you're held to
You're
it.
in it for the ride.
You are.
Okay.
We have been lucky though in the last year and a half where we haven't had anything major. 2 years ago when we had the tower, we had 2 other engines go in between July and August. We expended over $60,000 in our first 2 years, the first 2 months of our budget, and we had to go immediately to contingency. So some years we were okay, and other years we're behind. Depends on and once again, it depends on the age of the apparatus. So the newer apparatus doesn't require a lot, where the older apparatus is requiring a lot more work.
Okay, anything else you want to call to our attention on the finance report?
Once I go to the telephone, you'll see the telephone line items over. We knew about that. We put it into the budget to compensate it for this year and last year it got cut. And we'll see what happens this year. But that line always ends up being over by a little bit. The other lines, technical, we're keeping an eye on. I know it shows an $1,800 overage. We'll try to cover with some other fund somewhere, but that line is basically the everyday supplies, and that just shows you that the cost of everything is just
Going up.
continuing to climb, and there's not much we can do about it. And that line really hasn't increased in a number of years. We keep asking for an increase, and it has not increased.
What happened, if you remember this year in the budget? What's happening with that line?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay.
Okay? And obviously, we know what's going on with the natural gas and the electricity.
Anybody have any questions?
Thank you.
Next item is the fire chief's report.
So we've talked about some of the trucks having some issues. Let's start, we had elections last night for the officers. Everything stayed the same. So you guys should have all gotten your invitation for installation dinner.
Yeah.
Friday, May 2nd. So, birthday is this Saturday. They're having a problem because of the weather. Possibly might rain, so they asked to use the bay, take the trucks out of the bay and use the bay. So we're working with them to try to accommodate what we could do to help them. We started last Tuesday night. We started moving. We got a lease sign up in Bethany to relocate the equipment out of the old firehouse and bring it up to there to a storage facility. So we started moving that last Tuesday night, and we started. We've been doing it.
You don't have a moving
2
company?
other times. No.
It's being done on a volunteer basis?
It is. So the town, we got a price, I had a price of a little over $13,000 to move it. Seemed a little high, so we basically worked out a deal with the association that the town's gonna pay the association roughly $5,000, which in theory, the $5,000 is gonna go back into that storage facility out back. So, the storage facility is moving forward. We had a shutdown here a week and a half ago where we shut down the main service of the building so we could tie in the new building. And once again, that was all volunteer help. We got the new building tied in to the main service, so we have primary power in the back building now. The duct work is starting to move forward, the plumbing started to move forward. for all the HVAC stuff. So that's going good. We still have some issues with the contractor, so we're trying to get him on board to finish what he's gotta finish, so we can continue going with the electrical and everything else, because he doesn't have a framing inspection completed yet, and there's other things he has to do. For instance, like the overhead doors are framed and proper, so he has to add more blocking, so the overhead doors will be able to go in when we're ready, but we can't run any wire or plumbing or anything out in that area, because if we do, and we drill the studs, we'd have to pull all the wire back out so he can put his blocking in it and everything, so we're running into a standstill there.
So I have a question on the volunteer labor that's being provided. Is there insurance in place in the event something happens while these volunteers are working, either for their
Yeah,
work
so-
product or for
Yeah,
themselves?
so
for
basically,
workers'
all of
comp
us
or
work
something?
for, a lot of us work for ourselves, so we're covered under ourselves for comp. So it's not like the entire department, if we need help moving something or doing something, some of the guys in the department come, but this project's really relying on a group of individuals that this is what they do for a living,
So
so they
some
fall
of those,
underneath their.
like when I was
own-
here that Saturday, there was an outside electrician
Yep,
that was volunteering, and I don't know that he's a member, but
he is,
he is a member.
yep.
So they all have independent coverage, but we don't have a blanket anything
No.
to provide for them.
Nope.
Okay.
And just to be clear about that, the second a volunteer engages in fire responsibilities, they're covered under the town's workers' comp.
And there's certain
But
things
if you're
that they're
doing
covered.
construction on a building,
Right,
No.
that doesn't
exactly.
cover it.
Yep.
Okay.
We have a preliminary budget meeting tomorrow night at 7:30, is it? 7 or 7:30?
7:30.
7:30, I think at
Yeah.
the gymnasium. And then the annual town meeting is May 19th, I want to believe. So, go from there. And then I do have a presentation that myself, Karen, do you want to talk about that now?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so myself, Karen, the finance director, Tony Genovese, Mika, first selectman, and the chairman of the finance board, Susan Jacobs, had a meeting last week, last Thursday, I believe it was, Wednesday or Thursday, and this is a spreadsheet that we came up with, or I came up with Tina over the last couple of days. And basically, it shows a plan. There's a 6-year capital plan that we present, really doesn't do us any justice, because we have to look farther out and how we're gonna budget for all these trucks, because these trucks are getting extremely expensive.
This is what we've been talking about the
Yes.
last couple of
So-
years.
So let me just stop you for a second, go backwards. So this meeting was called by them for the purpose of discussing this issue, which you have raised, we have raised. And the result of the meeting was them saying, we agree with you in concept. Can you give us something where, you know, we have a plan to follow, so we know what's coming? And even though the boards of selectmen can't bind future boards to spend money unless we do a bond, which we don't really want to do, we at least have a concept that we all agree on and a plan going forward that is responsible. So that's how we got to this.
So basically what I did over the last few days is figure out, so if we look at, this is currently what we have here. If you look at we'll take the first one, which is the ladder. And we did it in chronological order on, basically based on the year of the vehicle. So if we take the 1992 Spartan ladder that we have, which is a tower, replacement year is gonna be in 2017. We're basing these trucks on, NFPA states we should base about a 20-year lifespan for a department like ours. Historically, we've been getting almost 25 years out of them, so we're basing it on a 25-year replacement plan, not a 20-year replacement plan. So as you go through and you see, forget replacement year for, original approval needed in the year we needed approval. So basically what we're saying is in 2025, we need the board's approval to go out and start specking out an aerial truck, and we need to order it in that
For
year.
deliveries like 4 years
2025.
out.
So now, if you look in your payment starts estimated year, the next one would be FY30. So we're not looking for money probably for a good 5 years if we do a lease purchase and we pay in the rears if the truck is 4 years out, which right now that's what they're running for an aerial device.
Can I just say something for a
Sure.
minute? I think that this should be sorted by the original approval year needed. That should be in chronological order. That matters more than the year it was made. We want them to read down the list and say, what do you need this year? What do
I
you
think
need?
that's more important because that shows the age of the current vehicle.
No, but what they need to see is what do we need to order this year? What do we need to order next year? So I think it should, that's my opinion, is that it should be
Well,
sorted.
Yeah, but if we keep going through, you're gonna see how that you're gonna see that right away.
Okay.
So, I'm just going through this, so years we would start paying would be FY30. I figured since the cost of the truck was I figured what the truck would be in 4 or 5 years from now. So I came up, right now the truck would probably be about 2.3 million. The way everything's going and the truck manufacturers we're talking to, that $2.3 million truck is realistically in 4 or 5 years gonna be 2.8 million. So as we go through, I based it on a 10-year plan, so if you look at FY30 and FY40, that's gonna tell you the year span that we did. Now, if we keep going over to the right, wow, can I have that? So you can see, I based it on a $280,000 payment per year, based on 2.8 million. So when we come over here in FY30, we're looking to start to pay for it here. Okay?
Yeah,
And then as we go through, you'll see in FY40, we're completed paying.
yeah.
Now, if we go to the next vehicle, and we go down, the next vehicle is Squad 4, which is a pickup truck, basically, with lights and everything else on it. It's a squad truck. That truck's a 1996. We'd be looking for approval in 2026. That gives us 30 years out of that truck. And as we go through, we based it on just 1 year. It's a $90,000, roughly $90,000 to outfit the truck and purchase the truck. And that would be in FY26. We didn't spread any payment out because it was under $100,000. I figured it's something we can afford to do in 1 year. Now, we could space that payment out if you'd like to see it. Maybe we could do 45 and 45. But historically speaking with us, on a smaller vehicles like this, we usually pay one shot.
One-time payment.
Yeah. Then as we go through each truck here, you'll see the next one is a 2002 E1. This is the engine 2. This is the other one we've been talking about a lot lately. So this is the one we just replaced the brake cans on. So if we were to get approval this year, which we need to, we probably would see that truck somewhere, our payment would be somewhere in FY29, probably 3 to 4 years out, and then that would be our payment moving forward.
So is there any policy in the town that you're aware of with respect to vehicle acquisition, like for public works or police department? Under a certain value, they handle it one way, over a certain value, they treat it
So,
differently?
yeah, it depends on the cost of the vehicle. Usually, historically, fire apparatus is extremely expensive, and we usually do a lease purchase. We used to do a lease purchase for 3 years on the vehicle to break the payment up. Since the vehicles have gotten more, usually right now, our lease payments are 5 years. So we're saying the vehicles are even more than what we are, so right now we're looking at expanding that 5 years to possibly 7 years or 10 years, or do a bond like Karen was talking about earlier, where you bond the vehicle. The only problem with a bond is, so let's say we go and we ask for 2.8 million right now, right? The town's not gonna go out and bond $2.8 million today.
Right,
They're gonna go out and bond $2.8 million probably in FY30.
yeah,
Because there's no reason to hold the money, bond the money right now and hold it right now. If that makes sense, because we're not gonna start paying until we take delivery of the truck. And it depends on when we do it, either we pay up front or we pay in arrears of the lease, or whatever we decide to do.
Might it make sense to bond a lesser amount of money now and put it in an investment vehicle that's
Well,
gonna
that has to do
earn
with the
a-
Board of Finance, that has nothing to really do with us. So that's more on how the Board of Finance wants to treat this or do this. They could create a truck reserve where, and let me just keep going through and then
Yeah,
it's,
okay.
it's more of a discussion. So as we go through this, you could see we put the tankers in here, we even put the trailers in here. But like when you get down to 2010, the F-550, truck that gets used every day, we put it in,
as a one-time.
yeah, one time because it's only 130,000, which I'm not saying it's not a lot of money, it is, but for fire apparatus, it's cheap. So it's an FY28, be a one-time payment, but once again, we can space these payments out any way you want, but the ones in yellow as we go down are the newer trucks. So if we look at 2020, right, E1, the attack engine, right, that's engine 3, we have one more payment left, and that where we are now, we're paying 175,528 this year. This is going to be our last payment. Then we're also paying on the 2023 engine 9 for 228,608. So
And that's
come,
already been budgeted for?
yes.
Okay,
So come next year, that 175,528 drops off.
yeah,
So now all we're paying is the 228,608.
and you pick up the 90.
And we pick up the 90 here, we're still less than the 175. So our goal is here, I would think, our goal is, we want a pretty level line when we come with our budget. Now these numbers we can play with to figure out how we want to do it, but this is just roughly what we're looking at for the future on when these trucks would be up, and all I did was space the payment out. Now we can shorten the payment, but if we shorten the payment on, let's say, a truck up here, that 280 could go to 500,000. Depends on how quick you want to pay it off
Yeah.
and what everything is.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is we have a time right now where the budget's gonna drop down from 544 to 2, and then people are gonna say, why'd it go up so much? You know, because we didn't order the trucks when they should have been ordered the
Right.
last 2 or 3 years.
Correct.
So now we have to be paying for those two at the same time,
So
whereas,
as we go through, you can see when we get out to, so
Yes.
you can see like these payments are okay, they're pretty stable in here. But now once we start taking them, now our payments are gonna drop to 500, and then by the time we get to 35, our payments almost 800,000. Now, remind you, these payments, these estimates are just solely estimates based on what we think the truck's gonna cost in, like, take it for here, FY33, 8 years down the road from now. If you asked before COVID, truck numbers were a lot less than pre-COVID than they are post-COVID. So it's really hard to justify, but on the average, truck manufacturers are going up anywhere between 4 and 7% a year. And sometimes they have 2 increases in 1 year depending on what happens. And now with the tariffs in,
Yeah,
we don't know where that's gonna end up or where we're gonna be.
I also just wanna say that when you do a capital lease payment, even though it's a financing lease, so you're basically paying for a quarter of the truck every year for 4 years, or whatever it is, you're paying the full value of the vehicle by the end of the lease. The Board of Selectmen still have to approve it every year, so theoretically, they could not approve a lease payment
So
when
it's
you're.
called a non-appropriations lease, a non-appropriations clause, meaning, let's say they budget for the truck this year, right, and we pay for it this year. Next year, it doesn't pass the budget, doesn't go through, it's basically, they come and repossess the truck.
truck.
Right, it's the same, works the same thing as your car, if you have a car payment. So that's how this works out. So the money has to get approved by the townspeople, and by the boards, and by the townspeople every single year for the payment.
So
If you do
So
a
they
bond,
don't
if you
approve
do
a
a,
vehicle and the
no,
payment
if
package
you
for
do
the
a
life.
no,
But if
To
you
pay
did
that
bond,
vehicle.
if you do a bond, then you're approving the entire number
The
in one
entire
shot,
amount,
and that's
yeah.
it, you're done. Then you don't have to go back every year.
Yeah, but that's
So
not
that's
really realistic.
Less risk though.
It's less risk, but the town doesn't go out for bonds unless they have a big purchase. They do a lot of things
So
together in one.
bonding, they have I don't know, I wanna say it's like $45,000 or $50,000 just a bond, the cost, and then you have
The
whatever
soft
the
cost.
rate
Then
is,
the
and
the other
soft and
costs
everything
for
else.
your.
Where a lease purchase usually looks more attractive, but it depends on also what the rates are at the time. So right now, the rates don't look that attractive, where in the past they have, but that doesn't mean in 3, 4, 5 years, they're looking really good again.
So we could take
What
delivery
we're
of a
looking
vehicle
for-
with a 5-year payout,
Correct.
and there could be a change in the board or the administration, and they don't favor that item, and in year 2 or 3, they could not approve the payment.
Correct.
But that we can't control that, and it's actually not even our purview to dictate how it gets financed. Which was the good outcome of that meeting was them saying, you need to just lay out for us what you need us to do every year. And we will look at it and see if we can agree in concept. And then they're gonna try to do that with Public Works and Police also, so that they are, as much as we want ours to look kind of even, they want the whole thing to look kind
So,
of even.
just to put it in person, like, I went out right now just on apparatus, the FY55.
Yeah.
We're not gonna be here in 55.
What do you mean?
I'm not gonna be the chief at 55, I'm done. Alright, so, but this is just apparatus and vehicles. There are other things in the capital budget that I don't want you to think this is the all end all. We have air packs that are coming every 15 years have to be replaced, air bottles. There's certain things like stuff with the building and all that is all under capital, but these are the vehicles, these are the main things that we need to focus on to come up with a plan on how we're gonna pay for every year. As you can see, we have 2 in this, the 2 Suburbans, which we had in last year's budget. This year's budget, they get cut, but we have, like I had said, we have 1 car that just everything shuts off inside, hasn't been driven in really a month or so. And the other car, we just dumped over $5,000 into it, so, and that's a 2011, the other one's a 17. At some point, they're just not worth putting any money into it, so we need to.
So we're asking for those to be replaced now when we
Right.
don't have other payments because we can't even start making payments on trucks we don't have.
Right.
So.
So do you guys have any questions on any of this right now? And like this number here, this Rosenbauer, so this is engine 9, this is the truck we took delivery of early last year. So we bought that truck for $998,000 and we just estimated it in FY 20 or 45, 48 for $2.5 million. Because that truck we bought for $998, that truck today is 1.3 right now. So that's how much it's just
Wow.
increasing.
Yeah.
I'm assuming at some point it's gonna level out, but I don't think it's ever gonna come back down to where.
Yeah, I think
It
there's
was.
just, the longer you go out,
Yeah.
the more
And
speculative.
the more you wait, the more it's gonna go up.
Yeah.
But this is stuff you need to replace.
Yeah, and this is a running document, a working, living document, so when you know better, you can update.
But I think what's nice to see is right here, if we did follow like the 6-year capital plan, you're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're only showing them up to like FY 30. So we're not showing any of these, but we're looking to purchase this truck, or looking to sign a contract in FY 25, even though we're not looking for a payment to FY 30.
Right.
So we're looking so far out down the road here, but that's the only way we can do
It's
it.
a very unique
It is.
circumstance.
It is. It's not like a dump truck where you can get a dump truck in 6 months, 3 months, 6 months, 8
Yeah.
months, 9 months. Those days for us are gone.
I think you should at least go back to the years and highlight 2025. And you have a 2024 in there. So obviously, you should highlight the original year we need approval in, all the 25s for now,
Okay.
and at least highlight those.
We'll make that. Okay.
So they asked us, and I agree, for the commission to take a vote on this. We did approve the capital budget, which is essentially the same thing with everything else in it, but they want us to approve just this vehicle apparatus replacement plan.
But this is basically a soft okay to them, from them, that may follow through or may never materialize.
Right, well, it was Susan, who's the chair of finance, Mika, Tony, Susan, Mika, and Tony. So they each have one vote, but at least it's a starting place that we have them agreeing in concept that we need to have this kind of approach.
And once the administration changes, does the new administration have to follow what's been approved previously?
No,
They could just scrap it and say,
yeah,
come on and sit down and stuff.
yeah. But hopefully, they will, if they engage in this thoughtful exercise and put together a vehicle replacement plan that makes sense going forward, someone will not need to
Challenge it.
reinvent the wheel, no pun intended. So,
But just to remind you, if we, let's say they approve to have us move forward in 2025 this year, right? And let's say administration's change in 3 years, right? And truck comes up the truck's up, and let's say there's a cost increase to the truck, right? At that point, we would have to still go back to the town and ask for whatever, and at that point, they could say yay or nay, right? Or they could say yay or nay at that point. If they decide to say no, you lose your place in line, and you're starting all over again, and your cost of your truck goes up. So financially,
And your
fiscally, it
repair
doesn't make,
costs go up
and your
to keep
repair
the old
cost
stuff.
goes up.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
yeah, so all we will have, if they agree to this plan, is an approval to sign a purchase contract.
Correct.
But that's all we can have.
For 2025.
We can
You're
have a
gonna sign
contract.
it, so it's a little convoluted. So you have a contract. Some manufacturers will hold the price for that time if you sign the contract now. Other manufacturers will not, so there's escalators built into it. So when your time comes up in line, you
Whatever
have to
the
decide
price-
if the truck goes up $100,000, you have to decide if you want to spend $100,000 more. You find $100,000 if you can find it in the truck
Or
to
lose
cut
your
out,
place in line.
or you lose your place in line, you start all over again. That's how it works.
Yeah. So, but that's the best that we can do.
There's no real winning side to
Right,
this.
as a
No.
commission now, the best we could do is get approval to enter
Yeah.
into a purchase contract.
So like, we put in our budget, 2.3 million, but after that meeting, we talked, in that meeting, we talked that we should try to figure out what that cost could be in 4 years down the road. So we don't have to go back and reinvent the wheel. At least we have a little wiggle room to figure for inflation.
Yeah, so they're gonna be approving a purchase contract for a certain amount, whatever the company says it
Whatever it
is.
is.
And with those provisions that they could still wiggle out of it at the end when the truck is ready, that the town could still wiggle out of it. But that's the best that we can do.
Usually, once it goes through that, they usually don't back out of it.
And they would have the right to, I mean, the Board of Selectmen could just not pay the lease payment anyway, as we discussed,
Correct.
and just never take possession of the truck. So there's no way to guarantee, have this Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance
Right.
cement the purchase of the truck at this point.
And in the event there's a big capital need elsewhere in the town, like a building for school or environmental issue that the town is gonna have to incur a big expense for, they may back off on, fire truck in favor of earmarking more money for that, what is unforeseen today.
But you're right on that safety clause too. Just to put it like this, and I want you guys to understand, this is a 1992 truck. In 2022, we're already hit. I mean, we're way beyond what we're looking for these apparatuses to do right now. So they're not reliable anymore. So that's why we need really to start moving forward right now to get them to give us the green light to start moving forward. And realistically, it's not like, let's say we get a green light today, right, tonight. We're not gonna order it tomorrow. We have to go through a process to spec out the truck, and that usually takes on the order of probably 5 to 8 months. And then we're gonna come back to here, show you the bid spec, we're gonna like it, bless
Yeah, I
it.
think we all
Then it goes back over to there,
the
and
safety
then
exposure
it
that
goes
we
back
were
to the Board
talking
of
about.
Selectmen, goes back to the Board of Finance, they say, yep, okay, great, let's move forward. We move forward, we sign a contract, and we don't talk about it probably for 3 years.
Okay.
Would they put money aside each year? Is that what they,
They used
Are willing to do
they
or
used
no?
to have
they-
a similar system where they would spend, let's say, 150 or 200,000 or whatever he said per year on vehicles.
into the, yeah.
And they, across public works, police and fire.
No, what it was a truck fund based on each department. So the fire department used to have a truck fund years and years ago, and they used to put money every year into that truck fund. Then they got rid of the truck fund because the decision more than held with just the Board of Selectmen. It didn't need the Board of Finance approval because the money was already into the budget, and all you would need at that time was Board of Selectmen approval of the Board of Finance.
Yeah, so basically, but since the budgeting process has gotten so aggressive in terms of the schools needing so much more,
Right.
the town percentage of the budget, of the total budget has shrunk because that's where it gets cut. So that those reserve accounts that would ordinarily be responsible financial decisions are the first to go because it's just money sitting that could be used, that is needed elsewhere. So that's where we are, but this is progress. We got this sort of conceptual agreement from at least.
So what is the motion that you're looking for?
The motion for the fire commission to approve the apparatus replacement schedule as presented.
I'm happy to make that motion.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, abstain? Motion passes.
That's a good bit of work right there.
Yeah. So, we'll talk after, how to present this.
Yeah, I think we should present the whole thing. They don't need to just, they wanted more than just a 6-year, but we can talk about it. Okay, anything else in your report?
Nope.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the activity report.
All right, so for March, we had 37 calls. You see the breakdown. We had 2 fires, 19 hazardous condition, 3 service calls, 7 good intent, 6 false calls for the total of 37. I installed 1 car seat. In that breakdown, on the hazardous condition, no fire, 8 of those were motor vehicle accidents along where we had fluid spills of some type. Oil or some kind of fluid came out of the car. We were putting down speedy dry, that kind of stuff.
Chief, what is a service call?
Service call means we got called out to do something that either wasn't necessarily something that was affecting us. I'm trying to look at one here, see if I can find an example of it.
Cat in a tree?
Yeah, that would be like a service call. Assisting with a smoke scare, odor of smoke. So we went out, we couldn't find anything. Somebody, the way we classified it is okay, it was called in as an odor of smoke. We went to the area and we kind of tracked those. We can, if we start seeing that we're getting something, then maybe we see if we can figure out a time period. Is there something that's causing it? We looked at those a few years back. We were getting a bunch of in the morning at like Newton and Seymour.
Oh,
And we started looking at it and realized somebody had one of those outdoor heating hot water furnace systems. And every morning when it kicked on, it made a bunch of smoke that sat in that valley, so people driving through there. So that's kind of how we use some of the data that we get for this. Usually for us, it's not big. Sometimes the state uses it when they look at traffic surveys. They'll take, because we submit these to the state and to the federal government, the state uses some of this data when they go and pull it, and they're looking at, do we need how traffic lights, traffic stop signs, that kind of data feeds into what the state uses it for also. So they look at those motor vehicle accidents as well. That kind of stuff is some of the data that our reports go into and use. And then if you look at, I had for the first quarter, we're doing a little higher because of that storm we had. The average was 125 calls since 2010 through 2025, and this year we're at 174. So, you know, it just goes to show what one storm early in the year can do to your numbers. We'll take a look and see what happens over the years
Yeah.
and continue on.
Thank you.
Okay, fire marshal.
54 inspections, no fire investigations. I'd like to remind everybody, Woodbridge has a no burning brush or leaves in your backyard ordinance, and we are in high fire danger. We've been having a lot of brush fires. Just want to remind people about that. If we come out, we're putting them out right
Okay.
now.
Okay. I still
Thank you.
think we should have like a digital something out front, like you could put that on there, and say no burning.
We had a sign out in front at one time that said, you know, dance tonight or something.
Yeah, exactly.
But we can't have the sign out in front. They made us
We
take it
can't
down.
have it?
Right? Remember, Chief?
Yep,
Does not meet code.
Didn't meet the code.
Zoning?
yep. So we have to keep moving the sign around, we get in trouble, so.
It was on a trailer. We had to
We get
move
to
it.
a point of this.
Okey-doke. All right. Any questions for fire marshal?
Thank you.
Thank you. Correspondence. Oh,
So we had 2 letters. One was from Timmy Lacy to the volunteers of the Woodbridge Fire Department. This was regarding fire coming to their response to her mother's house on 145 Fort Road. I'm sure Ted or Chief can speak to that. Y'all worked like a super well-oiled machine. She was highly impressed. Great job. That was what was that, Joe? The 145 Fort Road?
Structure fire.
Structure fire.
Yeah, she had fire upstairs.
Yep. That was on February 16th. And then a thank you to our friendly firefighters for responding to the carbon monoxide scare. Beyond grateful, we are so lucky to live in such a wonderful community. And that is from the Latier family on 19 Manville Road. And they also dropped off a bunch of snacks when they did that. So
nice.
those went right away. Nice.
very nice.
I do have one thing to go back to again for my report. We're actually in the process of doing ISO, insurance safety, your insurance, what's it stand for, man? I'm drawing a blank.
It's how we're rated by the insurance
It's how
company.
we're rated by
that's-
the insurance company. So
They come in and
ISO
look at us and give us a
Safety
rating, and then your
operations.
insurance company uses that rating to determine
determine
how much you're paying insurance.
Yeah. How are you doing?
We're doing pretty good.
Okay.
Apparatus is a little older and some of it, so.
Would we get a higher rating for it?
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point to
We
make,
wouldn't.
is,
Our era would we get a much higher rating?
okay.
They
Any,
look at everything, they look at your equipment, they look at the equipment you carry on the trucks, hose, they look at hose from other departments, mutual aid departments, what they carry, trading records, and all of that. So,
So
it's a
mutual
whole
aid
big-
equipment can impact our rates?
Correct.
correct? Yeah,
They look at the time it takes for them to get here, if we call them, what equipment they carry, so that, you know, you're thinking about they're gonna be bringing us water. So what do they, how much hose do they have to help lay in to get us the water we need? All that kind of stuff, so that calculates that travel time. You can only take credit for any apparatus that comes within 10 miles. So if it's more than 10 miles, so we're calling tankers from, let's say, Prospect, Oxford, we don't get to get any credit for those, because in their opinion, it takes too long to get here.
the other thing we're working on is, as you can see, we have the windows open because we cannot control the heat. So we're working with somebody right now to get us a number that we can present to the town to come up with a design on how to fix our issue that we have here, so we can go out to bid and then collect the bids back go through the bids, make a recommendation, Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance, and hopefully we're gonna do it so we're not wasting money by
Is-
not being able to
Is
control the heat.
is it gas heat?
Yes,
Is there a way to isolate the gas that services the furnace or the boilers and turn it off to just cut the heat off and
we
still
can, but
keep
then
the
it's
kitchen
still cold,
functioning
it's
and
still,
everything?
no.
No,
It's, well, we can do that, we can, but then when it gets cold,
no, I'm talking about temporarily, like, May 1,
yeah.
turn it off and get you through
We
so that
do.
there's no heat.
We do,
Through the fall.
but we have to remember, we have hot water, which runs through the boiler. So we turn the heat all the way off, basically,
What do you use the hot water for?
everything. What do you use hot water in your house for?
Well, in my house, is it just to service the kitchen or?
No, we have showers here.
Yeah, okay, I
There's
was gonna
trucks
say,
out
you
there.
put
There's
150
a lot
hot
of, yeah,
Gear
so,
wash.
gear wash, there's a
Should
lot of
wash
stuff
your
we
hands
use.
with hot water, I'm just saying.
Yeah, so we're looking at that, but remember, we're coming out of the gas season, gonna go into the electric season again with the AC, and that we can't control either. So, that's where we're running into an issue, so we're trying to get a proposal. Once we do that, we'll go present it. Hopefully they bless it, we start writing up a spec, and then it goes out to bid, and then we go through that process.
That would be
So-
for a new system,
Yeah.
to get
So
away from
I
this
don't think we're gonna
proprietary.
start, even if we get approval and we go through it, I don't see any work happening in here until probably at least the fall, if we're lucky, based on how long everything takes.
So utility costs are gonna continue to be
Yep.
way high.
You should let us approve that before it goes to the Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance. If you need a special meeting, just a phone meeting or something, so we don't hold it up, let us know.
Well, I'm hoping, like, the engineer is gonna be under $10,000, so we could do that, but it wouldn't be, we're not looking for that to come out of our budget, it would be coming out of their budget. But if you guys would like to sign off on that,
Oh, well, I only
Sure.
think we need to. It's not our budget, we probably don't need to. Okay, old business, new business. Anything else that we want to talk about in executive session on storage and training? If the answer is no, I'm going to jump up and down.
sure.
If the answer is no, I'm going to jump up and down.
No, we don't need that.
Okay. That means there's nothing that needs to be covered under the litigation exception to the FOI.
Other than the fact that we're still going back and forth with them.
That's exciting. That's
Sure.
good news. Progress. All right.
Okay.
Possible action, none. And next meeting date, May 20th. And,
That will not be available.
Okay.
Oh, we have our dance May 19th, 17th.
17.
We have too many dates. May 17th here, Spring Fun.
Okay.
Okay.
Very good. And what, do you want to tell us what we can do as a commission to support you?
Yeah,
Buy
if you guys
available.
wanna buy seats that come to it, do that, that'd be great. If you have something that you could donate, or like a silent auction item, that would be good too. A live auction item. Whatever you guys could do, we'd greatly appreciate it.
Okay.
But I think your presence is good too, just to come and show support.
Okey-doke.
Donation, okay?
Donations are always good.
All right, any questions about Spring Fling? Okay.
Yeah, if you guys know anybody that maybe has even tickets to a game or something, like the Giant game or whatever, something that could be auctioned off, that would be good too. Take tuition at like Notre Dame High School for a year, that would be good. That'd be okay as well.
I don't have that kind of pull, my friend.
You or I?
Legally.
All right,
All
I
right.
would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Motion passes.